government in this town is excellent and uses your tax dollars efficiently.
Every thought you'd see it coming. The moment Bitcoin is what they fear it is. A way to read it.
What an astounding revolution. Bitcoin.
Chief, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
The Pinky and the Brain. Yes, Pinky and the Brain. One is a genius, the other's insane. They're laboratory mice. Their genes have been sliced. They're Pinky and the Brain.
And welcome, everybody, to this latest edition of the Crypto Show. And we are coming to you from the sunny climes of Acapulco at Acapulco, the 4th annual conference. You know what it's all about. And I'm your host, Chris, as you know. And with me, as always, is the slave driver, Danny, who is making me do more interviews after that long debate we just did. Danny, I need to be kicking it back by the pool with some margaritas and pina coladas. But instead, you're making me do this. No, I'm just kidding. That's right. That's exactly what I'm saying. No, I'm happy to do this. I love what I do. And especially when we have great guests like we do today, including a good friend of ours whom we haven't seen at least since the Texas Bitcoin Conference, though I may or may not remember this. Jamie Redman. He is not only the someone who's talked to us and been friends with us since early on, if not really the beginning of the show. He created our logo. Awesome logo. And
thank you.
Yes, that one. Wait. Oh, I mean, I'm sorry. The original one that's even better than this one.
It's a poster fork.
There you go. There you go. Sorry, out of context, I kind of confused him. I'm just confused all over the place today. You may also remember him not just for his contributions to Bitcoin.com, awesome articles about anything crypto-related at Bitcoin.com, but he's the creator of a bunch of crypto memes that everyone knows, and you just might not have known that they're from him. Well, they are, because he's, let's just say he's a creative genius. Jamie Redman, how are you?
I'm very good. Thank you.
Thank you for being on the Crypto Show.
Having a good time. Cryptocurrency and anarchy and Acapulco. Can't go wrong.
Could you ask for more?
No, I couldn't.
Exactly. Now, how do you make it with that? I love the beard, always.
Thank you.
But has it been tough down here?
I live in Florida, so it's not much different.
Oh, okay. So you're well
I'm used
practiced.
to it very, very much.
Do you get mosquitoes caught in there? Or?
No.
Okay, well, that's
just
good.
Ladies.
Oh, true story.
No.
That's awesome. And we also have.
Is that what Tangle is?
What's that?
I said, is that what Tangle is?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You know this. You know what's up. And that's Tijo. And Tijo, tell us a little bit about what you do. You're also in the crypto media space.
So I'm a founder and evangelist of something called Arcane Bear. And we just like to, when I first started doing the channel, it was mostly me talking about pineapples or mimosa hostilis or ayahuasca or something random. And then I realized that there was a connecting vision in what I was doing. I'd been an entrepreneur for many years before that. That's how I ended up living out in Costa Rica with all these plants I grow around me.
What kind of plants?
Well, some of the ones I had stated earlier, my videos are about pineapples are delicious. They're very healthy for you. They show lots of positive effects in fighting cancer. Let's put this one back up. No.
I'm just going to take this show over. Why not? We had some technical.
It's called action filming right there.
It's anarchy. There's not supposed to be form anyway.
Amen. Hey, see, these guys get it.
All these freaking rules. Christ.
Yeah, it's just how it goes. Pick
All I
the
hear are
camera
rules.
back on. So I jumped online and I started to share what I liked about blockchain, which is the decentralization. I feel consciousness functions like that. We're all single proofs of existence, kind of relating to the way the complexity of time builds on top of itself. And I found a beautiful little niche and made many friends and built, kind of formed a community of those friends around what is now Arcane Bear and myself, Tijo.
And how long has Arcane Bear been around?
Oddly enough, I started it in 2015, but I didn't really jump on video stuff. I've been a musician my whole life, and for some reason I didn't relate the sound and audio together. So once I was like, oh, wait, I can jump on screen and do this too, I realized that talking to the monkeys and sloths was only getting me so far. So I decided to start a YouTube channel as well. It grew very quickly. I think we started in August and went to 20,000 subscribers to where we are today. So it's just what a
wow, that's awesome.
6.5 months. growth spurt.
Yeah, it's huge. Excellent. Congratulations.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, it's been a
Those
pleasure.
monkeys and sloths really helped you out.
Well, they do on a more characteristic level. I love the sloth. It's probably one of my favorite creatures. They just kind of fall themselves into position. They're a brilliant animal, and they move very slowly.
My ex-girlfriend likes sloths.
Yeah. Just she like things that move slowly?
I don't know. She's an evil person. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. No, but the sloths are a beautiful creature, and there's something zen about them, right? It's almost like they're doing Tai Chi and everything they do. You know, I feel like we could learn from them. So I'm totally with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love nature and the surrounding ideas of supportive behavior that comes from those things. Growing stuff takes a while, and it's a little bit more reflective of the way we try to share on the channel too. We're very calm. A lot of people get scared with the FOMO or the FUD in either direction. We just try to bring calming energy. I often will play the clarinet or the guitar and stuff like this as well. So we try to mix it up with as much esoteric vibration as we can.
Interesting. I like that. And so, sorry, it's Arcane Bear, right?
Yes, Arcane Bear on YouTube.
Where does that come from?
So oddly enough, I was thinking about, from a podcast perspective. So I opened the thesaurus this, and one of the first A words that I liked is arcane. It means kind of mysterious or secret. It's along the same words as like occult or esoteric too, or in the same nature of the story. Well, I think a lot of the general perception of things is kind of surface level, but there's so much of the momentum of the wave that's underneath that's driving these changes that's kind of overlooked. So A being the first letter in the thesaurus that I liked, show up first in the podcast on iTunes. I thought it might be a good idea.
I like that. And that's a really good point that a lot of what happens in life happens underneath the surface. And that's true in all aspects of society, certainly in politics, but even in more innocuous parts of society.
What was wrong with Acme?
Sorry, what was this?
What was wrong with Acme? You didn't like Acme?
Acumen.
No, Acme.
Oh, Acme. No, I like.
I was like, Acme is terrible.
See, but the bear.
You guys don't. You guys don't watch Roadrunner commercials.
Oh, Wile E. Coyote! Come on, guys. Jeez, he's not that. Actually,
hey, that was a brilliant cartoon. I appreciate media in all its essence, especially if it can make me laugh. And the Coyote's consistent failure through his tireless woes was actually quite comical.
Not just comical, but inspiring. His tenacity, his perseverance.
His relentless perseverance.
Right. Actually, before I get to Omar, I wanted to mention. Actually, Jamie, I totally forgot. Are you still doing infographics.com or
Cryptographics.com?
I'm sorry, I totally had that in my head. Cryptographics.com.
Cryptographics.com. Yes, I am. Basically, I just throw memes out there whenever I feel like making something funny. And a lot of the times last year was a lot of the Kool-Aid guys. Every time Bitcoin rounded to the next 1,000 number, I would make a new Kool-Aid man coming out of the wall, and it was very.
Finally, it got old. I think, right? You're like, I'm gonna have to wait.
Yes,
10x now or something.
It was when it was moving so fast, I actually had to stop because I couldn't keep up with the price.
That's funny. That's hilarious.
So,
and I know back in the day, I don't know if you still do because I know you're busy with Bitcoin.com, but you do take commissions, right, for your art or?
I do custom artwork for people in the space. A lot of people come, they need a logo done, stuff like that. Nice. And the memes kind of just networks them into my web.
Right. That's a great way to put it.
Definitely.
I was going to say it's just a portfolio to capture people's attention, but I like your spider metaphor better.
For sure. The memes kind of started me. Pretty much, I'm very thankful to my artistic ability to make funny little pictures with words on them.
You do a great job. You really do. And
Thank
actually,
you.
one more credit to him before I get to Omar is it's not just our logo, but our Facebook page picture is also Jamie Redman.
Correct,
so in case our listeners and viewers did not know that.
The Cody Wilson picture, I did the Crypto Anarchy.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Exactly. Yep. So, see, I mean, this guy's all over the place.
I am.
Well,
I just don't put my name on it except at Bitcoin.com.
Well, there you go. You don't need to. Word of mouth ensures that people know that it's you. So, well, Omar, tell us a little bit about what you do in the crypto media space.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of what I do actually has to do with going on news.bitcoin.com and reading Jamie's articles almost every day, because what I do is I do daily news. I make videos almost every day in an objective way. I don't take money from ICOs. I've done it 3 times. Each time I told people when I did it, because there's a lot of projects that want to be promoted in this space, and so they reach out to people. I'm sure you get a lot of that.
Like 10 a day.
Huh?
At least 10 a day.
Yeah, it's insane. It's really easy to want to take the money and run, but if you think long term, if you think about the bigger vision, I think, like you're talking about, you follow kind of the spiritual journey of yourself, and I've had really, really rough times in my life, believe it or not, even at a young age. But I had to kind of find myself. I had to find meditation, nootropics, so finding to the mind kind of drugs that helped me break patterns of thought that were very negative and allowed me to learn a lot quicker the things that I wanted to learn. So breaking addictions, bad mental patterns. Eventually I found crypto. Pretty early on, I was already using it. I tried purchasing drugs on the deep web just to do it, just to tell people that I did it.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know. I'm just the kind of guy who likes to experiment with stuff, and I'll just say, don't go to the deep web. Don't go too deep. Don't go in and look. Honestly, it's kind of a scary place if you don't have sensors for yourself.
You might run into some Subway Jared stuff. You don't want that.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
The other pictures.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I kind of freaked out. So I was just using Bitcoin originally transactionally, and then I discovered that I could mine and leave my computer on all day, and I was a gamer, so I thought, you know what? I can make money.
Wait, you were mining back then?
Well, I was using it transactionally in 2013. I started mining in late 2015.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and I was mining.
I thought you were implying you're doing like CPU graphics card mining.
Oh man, that would have been insane.
And I was like, I hate you.
I was in college. I was stuck in school learning what they wanted to teach me, much of which has been useless. Well, I won't say useless because everything you learn in life kind of teaches you and brings you to where you are right now. But what I was going to say is that I stick to the news, but mostly it's been kind of a vlog mostly. So I like to spread good ideas. I see myself more like a prism. So things come through me and hopefully reach a lot of people with a good filter I try to have to continually build myself, encourage people to build themselves, and to seek the new opportunities that come out with cryptocurrency. So, sometimes there's not news. There's not there's not a lot of vloggy stuff. You might not feel inspired, but the news is always there. So that's kind of why I gravitate towards that daily.
That's true. I mean, the news may be more or less bigger or smaller, but there's always news. So sometimes you just got to dig for it. And sometimes if it doesn't capture you at first as something important, you can find the importance in it if you use your mind and try hard enough, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, I'm sorry, you make YouTube videos or?
Yeah. I primarily make YouTube videos.
And do you have a YouTube channel or a website or what's?
Yeah, I actually have both, but primarily it's a YouTube channel. I go by crypto, so with a 0 at the end instead of an O, like the letters.
Nice.
Yeah, I was trying to get crypto, the regular one, but somebody already had it and didn't do anything with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
they're probably sitting on it to sell it to somebody.
Maybe. From what I saw in their About Me section, I don't think they knew why they even gave it that name. It was just like family videos, what we all used to use YouTube for. So it's primarily YouTube. I also am on Steemit. I was a very early adopter. I'm trying to find what are the technologies that are most decentralized so that the most people can hear about them, hopefully bring that world to light versus something that's centralized, has something in the center. So, Steemit, really cool for media. I studied acting, believe it or not.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I heard you earlier. You were saying I could put makeup on all you guys that studied acting.
I know, I can put makeup.
Yeah,
whatever kind you guys want.
Chris ran out of the room when you said that.
I wouldn't need it for you, Danny.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about that, actually. Do you feel like your studying of acting influenced what you do now? Do you use any of the tricks in your videos? Or?
Well, my goal, I lived in Miami when I was studying, and my goal was always to get to Hollywood and be in films and hopefully have a good message. And I was driving Uber in between jobs at some high-end hotels there. Literally, I used to serve Lloyd Blankfein. So I used to, yeah, no joke. He lived in the hotel that I used to work at. So I used to listen a lot. And it was a 5-star hotel, one of only 2 in Miami. So we had, for example, 137 standards we had to follow with every single table as one of 7 servers. For example, always greet people with their name. Do not use conjunctions and say can't. You can't have sentence. So it was very structured, but it gave me practice as an actor, I guess, while saving money to move to LA. And so I heard driving Uber before that job that you have to have a big following on social media before agents will even look at you in Hollywood, since it's just such a competitive field. So I started doing piano videos because I'm a pianist too. Studied that first.
So like instruction videos or just playing music?
Just playing music, just recording Broadway instrumental tracks that are obscure. without asking for copyright permission in the background, and also improvisations that I would put kind of visualizers over. I would follow the music while I would smoke weed basically and just play all night, because I'm the kind of person that does occasionally like to partake just for the philosophical benefits and also because it connects me to my instrument, but I can't talk to people while I'm on it, so it kind of expanded me that way. So I would do that. I would do gaming videos, but they're competitive fields. So one day Amanda from Dash now, or she was working for Dash.
Oh, Amanda B. Johnson.
Amanda B. Johnson, yeah. I used to watch her videos. She helped me set up my mining rigs with her videos. I used to watch her news, and I had a void in my heart because Dash kind of stole her away, because she put a proposal to Dash saying, hey, I want to work for you guys. And she told us, hey, I was looking at all these cryptocurrencies, and Dash was the cryptocurrency that I thought was the best one. And I was like, sell out. So I got pissed off.
We were actually trying to put a proposal in before she did, but we got scammed.
Oh, really?
By some scumbag.
You got scammed?
Not by Dash in the community, but by someone we knew personally. It's a long story.
Oh, okay, I want to hear that one later for sure. I don't know that one.
Oh, Danny will definitely tell you.
Oh,
That's an off-the-record conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just, one day I was reading all this stuff about Ethereum, which I saw as an alternative to Bitcoin, where the community had become kind of toxic. They were fighting so much, and I thought, you know what, I really like the Ethereum ideals on Reddit of let's stop fighting the old and let's work all that energy. Let's stop wasting energy on fighting the old and let's instead build the new. So I was stoked by that. Somebody first told me Ethereum, and I was like, whatever, I don't care. And once I heard it 3 times, I had this thing, once or twice. The third time, I have to take a look at it. So I started looking into it, and I got really, really excited. I think Ethereum was on $8 at that time. So I turned on a camera after Amanda left for Dash, and I was driving to work. I had 10 minutes before I hit the McDonald's drive-thru, ate a burger, and then ran to work. And at that time, I thought, oh, this is the news. Let me just say this stuff, tell people why Ethereum's cool, what's going to happen next month, hold on. And so I built a big community around people who were all here at the conference telling me that they used to watch my stuff in the car when I had no idea about the impact I was going to be doing on people's lives. It's incredible. I had a guy who told me he broke his leg. He had an ALS issue, and then he was watching my videos, changed his life because that's the only thing he could do was watch.
I've actually seen a bunch of your car videos.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, it's just remarkable to know that I could have done that without realizing the impact I would have at the time. So I just want to say thanks to Amanda, I suppose.
Yeah, she's been influential in a lot of people's crypto lives.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So anyways, how long have you been doing the crypto-specific videos?
In February 2016, around then, I think I turned on the camera for the first time.
So a couple years, okay.
Yeah.
And forgive me if you were, I think you were describing most of your previous videos, but give us some taste of some of the highlights of the work you've done in the past 2 years.
Sure. I usually come to these conferences just to interview people like yourselves, connect to the community, get different thoughts, because I'm big on not just focusing on one thing and giving people options. For example, not just Bitcoin. Look at Bitcoin Cash. Look at Dash. Let's give people... So I'll interview stuff. I'll do news. So, for example, I run this program called XSplit, and I'll just put fancy graphics on the top right. I'll wake up in the morning, find all the news, put them together, and then make a little 30-minute show, live stream it. So I have a little chat box happening on the bottom right. That helped a lot because people super chat and donate, and their comments come out. So I really don't have to take money in the background besides what I make on Steemit. And some of these decentralized options in addition to YouTube, which has been growing. But mostly I just do news and then wrap up with thanks, maybe a good quote, like a John Wooden quote or something, some interesting quote. If you want to be quick, then go alone. But if you want to go far, go with a team.
Wait, why does that sound so familiar?
I don't know, because that wasn't even his accent. He's a famous UCLA coach.
Oh, okay. That must be it. Oh, he's a UCLA coach?
Yeah, he was like the most famous basketball coach. All his quotes are remarkable. So I'll just finish up with a quote and give a good message, and that's it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, great stuff. Well, let's transition over to Tijo. Tijo, you talked about your initial inspirations from nature and, of course, the monkeys, and more importantly, the sloths. And growing. You really grew pineapples?
Yeah, we have pineapples, agave, and 150 different fruit trees, but only 30 different species. So there's a few where we double down on like the cacao or the avocados or the like star fruit and stuff like this. Got a little well. We ran on solar for a few years until I realized batteries only last about 3 years. And then I was like, well, screw solar. This was dumb. So, but anyways, Costa Rica runs almost entirely on renewable energy. So we switched back to the grid, and I have a slow backup for when the power goes out. And then I had actually bought Bitcoin. Like, if you want to rewind into the blockchain entry, I bought Bitcoin probably in 2013 when it was around $90. I didn't buy anywhere near as much as I should have, but we were using
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, right. You're like, oh yeah, this is a great idea. I'm just going to put a little bit in to speculate. But it was a brilliant idea, and it's proven itself over and over and over again. The growth of the space was really interesting. When I was down in Guatemala, I was living in an indigenous community, and I found a blockchain or a Bitcoin card in the ground. This was in 2014. And I was like, oh, this is some of the most organic advertising I've ever seen. As a company that has no CEO and has no real driving voice, it's the people that give the voice to these decentralized applications. You know, you fast forward today, we have all these influencers and businesses that are growing in a kind of a new market space, and we're transitioning a lot of the legacy world into now, because products and services are never unvaluable. You know, I have a friend in Costa Rica who built a multi-billion-dollar company with only $500.
Wow.
The vision that drove him to be successful was something he calls sacred capitalism, which he got from Buddha. So while I was living in Costa Rica, I met this friend who's now a mentor of mine. Was on his company, made it to one of the Fortune 500 companies for a little while. He took over almost the entire market share of that particular niche that they were in. And when I transitioned from a lot of marketing and advertising that I was doing to making a ginger tonic and starting the Arcane Bear. So as I was decently invested into it in the first place, I had made a fair amount of money from my entrepreneurial skills in the earlier years before. I realized very quickly, because I thought we were going downhill. I thought with all this chaos that's happening in the governments and in the banks, I thought we were going to crash or something. And the sloths basically told me that we're going into a technological future very, very quickly. So that's when I started to jump on YouTube and realized, okay, well, we don't have much choice but to move forward with this technical revolution, because it's how we create the solutions. So the evolutions of what are necessary isn't necessarily going back to the way we were in nature as an indigenous community, something was very closely related to, but to drive forward and try to find the sympathetic like retuning of the technology that's around us. A lot of things, just like the human body, if it's out of tune, if you slightly retune it, you're back in harmony with your normal fluctuations, and you're healthy instead of sick, or you're loved instead of feared. So I try to, at least as a human, from my silly monkey perspective, humanize a lot of the technical understanding in the Bitcoin or this entire disruptive space in general, because it's not just about money or currency, it's about the way we build business. And I think the ethos has changed, that the new businesses will basically fall under the heading of something like sacred capitalism, or they won't work. I think the economy is being driven by people's emotions, as we see in the markets when they fluctuate. So if we can retune these businesses to be like emotionally in line with what Buddha called right livelihood, then not only am I successful, all of our the entire economy becomes successful as well, where it's not such a dog eat dog world, etc. So we had one of my, you'd asked Omar one of his favorite parts of his show. I had a Bruce Lipton on the show a few weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah, someone I didn't
from
even,
inside the actor's studio.
Yeah, well, Bruce Lipton is he did the biology of belief. He was he's a Stanford PhD.
Oh, I'm thinking James Lipton. I'm sorry.
I was like, he did that too? It was that guy?
Yeah, he's doubling down.
He did everything.
But there's a lot of science that show he's a very disruptive scientist. His disruption in the science world was proving that we're not determined by our genetics, which is what a lot of people still believe. We've now scientifically proven that the interpretation of the life that you're living changes the chemistry of your blood through dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, thus changing the blood culture or the cellular culture. So in his experiments, he proved that you could put the exact same cell in multiple different petri dishes, and regardless of the DNA, it would grow a different type of liver or marrow or brain tissue.
So kind of like epigenetics, where
yeah, he was the godfather of epigenetics.
Oh, okay.
He was pretty much created that word and was one of the founders of that belief system. So we had a PhD in psychology and physics come on the other day, and they're reiterating that the more we are in control of the story and the viewpoint of the experiments that are taking place, the more we can actually shift the quantum layer and change the outcome of these experiments. So we can make ourselves happier and healthier by feeling love, or even faking it till you make it. Like, I'm happy today. This is a good day, you know. And that's valuable information.
I'm smart enough,
right? Yeah, I'm smart enough. I'm strong enough. Whatever you want to do. A lot of this self-help stuff has valuable aspects to it because it's about how strong the mind is. So, for what I really like about this space is that it feels like an opening for new businesses that are driven to help people, whether they're philanthropic visions, to really headline themselves as not profit or the tiers from profits, but valuable and functional parts of the society. Just how, as I saw Bitcoin, is this organic, decentralized growth of a stand-up system. So, you know, try to bring it back home for me. When I realized I could only tell so much to the sloths and deer before it was not helping me anymore, that's when the community started to grow up as well. So we caught the wave almost perfectly for when things started to really happen. So in March, I was between the months of November of March, I was writing on arcanebear.com every day about different crypto things or digital things happening in the asset space, and also pineapples, bananas. I was trying to mix it up because I figured the quickest way to mass adoption is through mass acceptance of other people. So you like this thing, cool, but here's all of this thing down this rabbit hole that's connected to these things. So my interest in plants, medicines, music, psychology, physics or physiology as well.
So kind of finding the common thread between seemingly disparate subject matter, which also kind of finds a thread between disparate individuals.
Yeah,
sort of,
well, there's a line of altruistic thinking, I think, that connects a lot of in this space, that we have almost a renewed hope for what's possible with these types of disruptive, not just technologies, but the disruptive people that support those ecosystems as well.
That's awesome. I like that. So that clearly kind of taps into, you know, he made a comment and then you use certain words that indicate you have a sort of a spiritual drive in this. Is that correct?
You know, I think you could use many different words to that aspect, but yeah, I think that the Fibonacci extension when you're doing charting in Bitcoin, or the retracement tool, these are based off what we consider divine mathematics.
So on pineapples.
Yeah, and pineapples, the growth of all the plants and animals, and that relationship is in everything, regardless of the sometimes almost seamless connection between them. So what we've earned is the support of people that are very eclectic, that are here for the altruistic thinking, and that support, for maybe just to reiterate that word, the spiritual essence of what we can create with business together.
Yeah,
maybe capitalism a happier setting, because it's a great model.
No, and I like that because I think capitalism is a great model, and people who disparage it, I think, just aren't familiar enough with it or understand it properly. But at the same time, while I think capitalism is a great model, that doesn't mean it can't be improved upon in the sense of, while in an unhampered market, self-interest will lead to the improvement of others, despite the intentions of the person who is self-interested, the world could be even better, that person and the person they interact with, if we did more than simply self-interest when it came to our actions on the market or in personal relations or anything. So we can have a more enlightened capitalism. I would agree, absolutely, if I'm getting you right.
Yeah, and I think we create that story together, like the physics and these biological experiments show. When we start to believe these things, we'll create that new story for ourselves. So instead of just focusing on all the problems that we have, we know that they're all there, to just constantly build solutions together. And come to the table is not to have competition because it's healthy, but know that we're all allies in building this this new wave, or a part of the new wave of change is taking place.
It just reminds me of a quick quote. It was like, no one ever got poor from giving. No one ever went poor from giving. So
yeah, wasn't that UCLA coach?
Was it? No. And I'm like, maybe.
No, but that's so true. No one ever got poor from giving. I mean, I don't like.
It's the universe. It works. There was an interesting talker during the conference.
Jamie never goes poor from giving you guys content.
Yeah. That's a great example.
But where does Jamie get his content? I mean, this is like the food chain. So, Jamie, where do you get your content from?
I get my content from every facet online that you can actually think of, from Slack channels, Telegram channels, Reddit. I have a bot that finds me news that I programmed myself. Everything. I'm into following the Whale Club on Telegram. I'm following people on their Slack channels for Open Bazaar, all these companies. And then, yes, some people send me stuff, things like that. I try to be tapped into the crypto universe as much as I can, and I love to. And I also do technical analysis, so I'm looking at the charts like pretty much 24/7.
You know, Bitcoin.com is seen like as such a Bitcoin core-sided thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like a lot of the community dislikes you for that reason? That
Yes,
your Bitcoin
yes,
cash attached, perhaps?
Yes, I get that a lot. I guess I started working for like 7 different publications before I worked for Bitcoin.com. And when I joined them, I definitely feel like I'm now on the dark side from a lot of even friends of mine. Mm-hmm. Even when I came to this conference that I've been friends with, like Juan, for example. So certain things like that, yeah. There's definitely some animosity, and I'm
funny how money drives people.
And
people think it's crazy.
Yeah. I felt that way too about where we would post our stuff. I was afraid to put it on, our Bitcoin or whatever, and then I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna put it up there anyway.
Yeah, I got banned for that reason.
I love the death threats, but what you're really noticing.
A lot of my articles have been censored. I mean, I'm not talking about block size. I'm talking about an exchange that got hacked and I'm censored, and I feel like people should know this stuff, but because I am,
why would they censor that?
Yeah, but because I work for Roger Ver.
Yeah, but aren't you finding also that it's less and less, and that group of people is really the minority in this space?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Every conference I go to, people tell me they love my articles, and then a lot of people say that secretly I like Bitcoin Cash. I don't want to say it out loud and stuff.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that straight up
coin racist.
So, like the Miami conference was a big example. I did not see many people there. And when I did see them, a few people came up and talked to me and stuff. And at the time, I'm like, if you want to show me a real world example, send me $5 in Bitcoin right now. And at the time, fees were around $25. So it's not very, easy to send that when a fee is $25.
Yeah, I have a wallet with a little
level of use case I think that's really important to understand. I've managed international business before, and going from even one time zone to another on a SWIFT transfer is extremely annoying. We're talking about a few hours in the business world, and transaction fees that are not that high for a larger use case of it as a store of value, less a currency or cash, because there are notably different things in the dictionary. Money and currency have different values associated to them. And what I've always found interesting is that what's not talked about in a lot of those things is that there are actual functional use cases. One of the reasons why gold held a better store of value is because it's actually more difficult to get the value out of that thing. You're not going to pay for coffee with a slice of gold, right? So I think there's a miscommunication in the way the dialogue should be really going, which is, are the different applications of these things on a bigger scale? We have Ethereum, which is considered smart contracts. So that's what money used to be in the first place. Money was a smart contract between your government and your bank for the gold that was redeemable by the paper that they would give you. The paper was considered currency, and the money that backed that paper was the gold, and the contract was held by the governments. Why is this not just becoming a cable of commerce?
Actually, you just brought to mind something I hadn't really explored, which is you said that it's a great store of value like gold, but perhaps, and maybe you have some comments on this, Jamie, as well, is that if the only reason that people might move that Bitcoin is no longer to accept that as a payment because nobody wants to pay it due to the increasing transaction costs, at least temporarily, then doesn't that mean that the biggest reason to move it would be to sell it, and therefore that would put downward pressure over time as there are increasing reasons to buy other cryptocurrencies for transactions?
I have no problem with people that want it to be a store of value, and if that's the case. But during the debate earlier with Roger and Jason King came on, and when I came into the space in 2011, and when I read the white paper, it changed my life. And the words on that white paper say peer-to-peer electronic cash transaction. And one of the memes that I had made was Western Union meme, and it was a very popular meme, and it said, you know, you can send money very cheap, very fast for less than a penny. That was a huge meme of mine.
I remember it.
That thing went all over the place.
Nice.
And I also got Western Union almost, you know, took me down for the IP for that and everything. So I had to go undercover for a week. But anyway, I feel one day I made a picture on Photoshop and I put that picture in the trash. It's in what I was saying earlier is what Jason King said. It's not what I signed up for.
Yeah, well, how many currencies are there on the planet, though? Right? To think that it's going to be a single operating currency is a rather irrelevant and kind of redundant debate. These are like sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
The people are going to pick which brand they want to use, not based off technical qualities. They're going to pick them based off what they like and what they feel about those ideas in general. We're very social creatures.
Well,
I think the tech debate is almost irrelevant as we move to mainstream adoption because it's entirely about social behavior.
Most definitely. But from a writer who's been paid in Bitcoin for 3 years, and I've switched to Bitcoin Cash because it's unsustainable for my family. So if you want to use it as a store of value, that's cool. But to me, it's unsustainable money and the way that I work, and I get paid in cryptocurrencies. So,
but that's like a currency. You're telling me about a currency.
Correct.
A money and a currency are different things. You're not going to wire transfer someone $50. It doesn't
Correct.
make any sense.
Correct.
So these are then different use cases, I think, for the individual like product itself. I don't see why that's not a supportive comment
I think
from the conversation.
that's where the
of both
schism
sides.
came from, is because some people want it to be a store of value, and some people like myself read it as a different way. When I read that white paper, it was peer-to-peer cash.
It's interesting because there's so much emotion in this. Almost, it's like you're coming from a place of reason. People like to reason. It's a store of value, but when you see people actually affected, that's you make your livelihood as a currency. It changes your life for sure. I can understand that.
Well, the thing is, like, I mean, you're also right, but it's like, so I mean, Bitcoin can be a store of value, but it has to have, like, even like gold, it has other features that made it a store of value. And money and currency are different, but they can also be the same. So in other words, like, if Bitcoin can't be a currency, which is kind of failing to do, it has to have another reason to have a store of value. And luckily, kind of like Juan Galt was pointing out, the fact that it is the most secure network can give it a store of value function because it has that superior feature over any other coin. And I'm not saying that, I'm not falling on the side of Bitcoin core here. All I'm just saying is I can see how Bitcoin can stay. It still probably needs to work on lower fees, faster transactions, and scalability. But because it has that technical feature of being the most secure, it can be a store of value potentially, but that's not guaranteed. And the more features it has that improve its use as a currency or money, the more likely it's to remain a store of value. Because to some extent, the argument that people make, not you personally, about it being a store of value gets a little circular in the sense of, you know, you'll talk to some people and they'll just say, well, it's a store of value, and they'll say why, and it's just, well, because it is. And like essentially just relying on the current market value, which is not a long-term metric per se to go by. So really, I think it's like, I really think there's room, in my evolving opinion, I think there's room for Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Core, given a certain set of assumptions. But, you know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Anyway, did you want to?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that I'm on neither side. I am tech agnostic. I'm really interested about the community understanding and the social implications of what happens. Earlier, you guys were talking about Reddit being censorship prone for these particular ideas. Well, there's 30% women there. What we're seeing now is a transition into a completely different space. And what's interesting is that some of the levels of misunderstanding and communication on a large marketing level are not in like supportive of the women that will generally enter this space. In fact, they're the opposite of that, and that's not what we want. A lot of the reasons why I feel contention towards Mr. Veer and his particular choice of abstractions in this space is because there's a lot of women that don't appreciate that, and that's negative for us just from a social aspect. And I don't care about the tech.
Sorry, what specific abstractions?
Well, just, I mean, you could ask girls how they feel about the bitch please shirts, or you could ask them how they feel about maybe the other abstract potential forms of degradation just in a relationship point of view. Right now, women view things entirely different than men, especially at the extremes. We know that for a fact. There's no conversation about it. Now, there's a lot of confusion in those conversations.
That's the first time I've ever even made any connection with Bitch Please and Bitcoin
Me
Cash
too, as
Please.
well. I thought it was a good shirt until you just brought it up.
That's never even crossed my mind.
Well, there's some symbolism is more difficult to see. I've spent my entire life studying occult symbolism. I've studied the Kabbalah when I was quite young. Now, there's a lot of metaphor and symbolism that goes into building corporate and company structure. What I'm concerned about is the misunderstanding of those more emotional aspects that are taking place, especially with just the general miscommunication. Like, for instance, I have my mom and my grandma who now own Bitcoin, right? So I have to go and try to explain to them this tech deviation that's happened and all the contention that's going on between these names. It's not supportive of the people that don't come to these conferences. So we might see an overwhelming response from the people that come to these conferences. That's not very many people. Some of the people that were interested in this a few years ago but that bought Bitcoin are not paying attention to this conversation because they're long-term investors. What the main point that I want to come back around to is that just from a social perspective, it seemed like this contention isn't good for the community in general. Like I said, I'm not concerned about the speeds of the tech from either standpoint. I'm confused because I'm trying to learn more about what's happening. Now, I've become less confused because so my answer to the question you said before, that people say, well, it's just a store of value. Why do you keep it? Why do they create TFSAs? It's a tax-free savings account. They generally lock it up for 6 or 7 months. You get more interest based on that. If it's harder to spend, it's slower to spend. It might actually incentivize savings. We need to get back to a culture that saves instead of just produces and consumes. There's a beneficial psychological layer to the things that might make you save instead of just spend and consume.
I agree with the saving. I agree with you on that. I don't think slowing down the ability to spend it will induce saving, but we do need to encourage saving because our whole culture and political system is based on spend, get into debt, and not saving. I mean, if anything, too, the people save with the expectation that they can immediately spend it, that they can maintain purchasing power in the future. That's generally why people save. So, I mean, you're right. I would slightly quibble with the slowing down the ability to spend it, but you're absolutely right. I mean, we do need to change that part of our culture. I can understand what you're saying about the bitch please as far as some people getting offended by it, and then that needs to be talked about.
The women are a gossip protocol.
Do what?
The women are the gossip protocol. They mitigate our markets. They're in charge of the men that have women, or the men that have children, right? If you're going to have a kid, it's because that woman decided that that's what she's going to do with you.
Right.
The women mitigate these markets. If we upset them with arrogant, abstract symbolism, they're not going to like what you're doing.
Well,
it's detrimental to all
and
of
some
us.
women, although I think
again, I'm not tech-oriented, just social-oriented.
And I would just say, and I mean, I'm not speaking for all women, but obviously I think some women would just brush it off or not necessarily associate it with being offensive. But there are those who do, and I'm not saying they're wrong. So it is, with that in mind, the fact that some people could be offended, we should reconsider symbols like that. I agree. I will say that, I think this community is very embracing of women.
Yes, absolutely.
As is the broader culture. I mean, if anything, the broader culture is shoehorning natural developments that are occurring where women are getting more and more participation and equality and voice and just interest, if anything. Because, like you said, men and women are individually,
at their extremes.
At the extremes or on average, but obviously individuals vary greatly, different in some regards. And that affects...
Bitcoin Cash actually hires more women than anybody at these booths.
Right.
Yeah, so do strip clubs.
Shots fired.
So do strip clubs.
That affects choices made.
That's a valid statement to your argument there, Danny. There's a lot of groups that actually commonly hire more women than not, but it's not on a degradative factor.
I was opening.
It's interesting because
I already knew your topic, so I was opening that up.
I'm not saying there isn't strip clubs is you could argue a decorative factor, although they're there by their own volition. Free choice.
But it's mostly the interpretation of at a very baby-like market.
Yeah.
Even at 8 years old, this is a toddler still learning how to not kill itself.
Right. I'm just saying we have to allow for the fact that people make choices. It's not simply that institutions prohibit. It's also that institutions can be completely accepting.
Right.
People make choices, and yet it appears as if institutions are being prohibitive when in fact they're not. And there are prohibitive institutions, don't get me wrong, but we need to make distinctions. We should also try to wrap this up because I want to see Mark Passio. I'm sure you guys do too. But Jamie, is there anything else you want to talk about? Because I feel like we didn't give him quite enough time. Anything you want to talk about the origins of your art?
Just listen to these guys, though. I came into the space in like 2011, and I'm really happy to see that everybody's growing. This economy is supporting us, you know, and I think that's awesome. And that's what I want. Like, out of all the cryptocurrencies, the fighting, all that stupid stuff.
Does anybody in this room have a job?
Yeah, like
who in this room has a job? Audience members.
It's a lifestyle.
That's a huge thing for me. I love to see that. So we're growing big, and I think we're going to be growing way bigger. We're not even close to the moon yet. So
I agree with you in more than one way on that.
Definitely.
Yeah, and thank you for the memes too. It's always fascinated me, the viral transmission of these short, astute layers of information. I really appreciate the way that stuff moves.
Thank you.
Well, I want to thank all you guys. Man, if we had more time, this is going on all sorts of avenues that I would love to talk about. In fact, I'm glad that y'all brought them up just to kind of enrich what was already a fun conversation about what you guys do, kind of getting into philosophical stuff that I love talking about related to the crypto space. So maybe we can do this again. I would love to.
Yeah,
but for now, let's go see Mark Passio.
Yeah.
So we have Tijo from Arcane Bear. Check him out. Any other information to give listeners?
You can find us on all the crazy social media, from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Steam it as well. The Crypto Show. Danny Sessoms, Chris, thank you for sharing your time with us. Jamie, got that right this time. Omar, you guys are all fantastic too. Like, I'm just grateful to be here, growing this new, or nurturing this together.
Awesome, thanks Tijo. And Omar.
Twitter, Facebook. We have a huge Facebook group that's growing. Great moderators who help us out.
And it's Crypto Zero with a zero at the
end.
With a zero,
yeah. Crypto's news group. 90,000 members join up for news. We pin stuff. Cool stuff. Obviously, YouTube.
I put some of our stuff there too.
Oh yeah.
And Jamie Redman, Bitcoin.com.
Yeah, Bitcoin.com, cryptographics.com, and I will never ever forget my my brothers at the Art of Not Being Governed. That's where I got my start, and I just want to give a big shout out to those guys.
Amen. Awesome. Well, thanks all you guys, and Jamie, really good to see you again. I'm going to remember it this time.
You will.
I promise.
You will.
And love the beard.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time.